Hello and welcome to another episode of our NAWBO Member Love Live, aka the Texas Women Mean Business podcast. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and then we'll also be coming up on our podcast here shortly. Welcome, CEO of Stimulyst, Liz J. Simpson. So lovely to have you this morning.
Good morning. I'm so honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay, so I have known you for years. I am so excited to have you kind of share with our audience about what it is that you do, what Stimulyst is all about, because I think it's such a powerful business and doing so many wonderful things. So walk me through, what is Stimulyst?
Yeah, it's so funny because the name, when I was starting my business, I'm like, I want a name where I can be like a Google or a Yahoo one day, right? Like,
Yeah,
that was the
manifest,
thought.
baby,
That
manifest.
was the thought, right? But it's simply a name that most people just misspell now.
Yeah. Relatable. Yes.
But the idea was stimulating economic growth and being a catalyst for social change. So that was the idea. So what we do, I'll say like the mission. For me, when I talk about catalyzing social change, I think there's so many brilliant experts out there who are supporting organizations and people to create impact and change. And the trend that I found was that so many of these brilliant people were creating massive impact. However, their revenue or their compensation didn't match the impact that they were creating. So that's why we wanted to stimulate economic growth. So in the most simplistic form, we help expert-led firms grow revenue. And that's normally through business development and marketing, right? So how do we market as experts? And then how do we sell our services so that we're landing six-figure deals and we're landing bigger clients like corporate clients? So that's what we do. We do it from solo consultant all the way to we work with enterprise clients as well. My heart and my passion is working with women-owned businesses.
Yep. Same.
So I have a movement called Women Consulting Corporate, where we've worked with over 1,000 women-owned consultants across the globe to help them close six-figure deals. They've closed over $250 million in the last 5 years of our movement. So yeah, I'm really good at helping people close big deals.
Yeah. I love that that's kind of your whole ethos is like, you are allowed to just say, I have closed, helped my clients close $250 million. Like, there's a lot of us that I think would be nervous to like, just, that's me. That is what I have accomplished. And it feels like, oh, I better tamper it down. I better qualify it. I better say this. But to your point, like, that's part of what you do is come in and help these businesses understand, like, in order for you to close these huge deals, you're going to have to really present yourself in that manner. Is that my right in saying that?
100%. Yeah, I think, and I totally think you and I can geek out on this over from the marketing perspective, but everything, like, people love strategy and tactics, but everything comes down to messaging. Like the messaging strategy, the positioning strategy, who are you in the marketplace? Who are you trying to attract? And does your messaging align with how they communicate and how they perceive value? So it's everything from helping them with positioning, which is which is most of the work. And then from positioning, like, okay, well then what's the market ecosystem for these ideal buyers? Now that we know how to talk to them, where do we need to be to create omnipresence with these buyers? How do we market ourselves? And then once you get in a conversation with them, do we even know how to lead this conversation to close larger deals? And then the last piece is, for professional service firms, the name of the game is retention. So it's not just landing them, it's how do you create multi-year partnerships and how do you increase this lifetime client value? So that's it.
No, you're definitely speaking my language. And I love that you talked about omnipresence, because I think a lot of times what we hear is, well, I know word of mouth is what works. I know and it's like, okay, but yes, but then you're really just giving yourself, a limited number of people who are in your network and are going to find you and be able to work with you. What happens to those other, 95% of the population that you're not necessarily, getting in touch with, and at least like getting to the point where you can have a conversation with?
Yeah, 100%. And for a lot of our clients, like, I feel like people don't hear that until they get to a point where it hijacks their business, right? Like you cannot how would you strategic plan? How would you forecast growth? How would you forecast hiring? For most, we talk about the mid-sized firms that we work with, oftentimes for professional service firms, eventually the growth strategy becomes M&A, right? Merger and acquisition, right? At some point. But if you're purely relying on word of mouth, you have no engine to speak to the value of like, you can't engineer success. Like you're a victim to the marketplace, which the last decade of economic times have proven that is a very dangerous business strategy to have.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned, corporate clients as well, kind of being one of those, everybody kind of puts them on a pedestal as like, if I could just land more corporate clients. What have you seen in the last, 5 years, like post-COVID? How has that landscape shifted with landing corporate clients? Is it way easier? Is it way harder? Where do you see the trends kind of going?
Yeah, I think there's always headwinds and tailwinds depending on what your service is, right? Like,
yeah. There's just wind in general when you're a business owner. There's a lot of wind happening. Coming from a lot of different directions. It's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, what will I say on that? So our buyers are savvier. I think that if someone is resistant to change and they are insistent upon antiquated strategies like word of mouth referrals, they're facing, some challenges of realizing the market's not what it used to be, right? Like, we like oftentimes in the marketing space, like we'll talk about B2C buying versus B2B buying, right? And just human behavior, B2C is kind of becoming more of just buying. Like how I scroll on my phone is also how I'm looking for experts and vendors and strategic partners. And, I want to see their capabilities online. So I'd say that digital can be a great equalizer for those who are willing to lean into it. I don't know if I'm talking in code, but
no, I think that's all relevant, especially when you are finally kind of in that mindset of like, we've got to level up. We've got to level up. You have to be willing to kind of, understand what kind of landscape you're walking into and what that would mean. What do you say? Because we've had conversations sometimes with, potential clients where they'll tell us like, okay, we're not quite ready for you yet because we don't want to grow too fast, take on too much. What if we land this big client and then we can't deliver? What do you say to somebody who's feeling that sense of like, ooh, I got to be cautious and careful and not, God forbid I land this multi-six-figure deal. Like, ooh, that would be horrible. What do you say to somebody who's kind of giving you that like, ooh, we need to pump the brakes kind of vibe?
Yeah, I'm not for you. If you are not trying to grow, I am not your girl at all. I think it's very scary to not lean into growth because I guess having served so many firms, like if you're relying on 3 clients and you are not building the infrastructure for growth and you lose one of those clients, like there's stats that show that, small business owners who lose a gorilla client, right? Often go out of business in 90 days. So like the thing you just talked about, the wins, like the thing about growing, sometimes we're growing just to maintain status quo. I'm going to take on a few more clients because something could happen with another client. And at least then I don't have to shut down because I've always been intentional about growth. And so I think part of our roles as leaders is that when opportunities arise, great leadership is about how do we build the infrastructure and support for excellence. So if it's a large deal, guess what? Then if I priced it appropriately, I should have margin for a great team member to come on. Or I should have margin for better technology to support us. Or I should have margin for someone to consult and improve our processes. So to me, it seems like a short-sighted.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like there's a lot of times where women specifically do that. There's a, sort of mindset when, you are going into a male dominated field or, you feel like you're kind of going out on a limb and maybe you've got that imposter syndrome and you're sort of second guessing yourself really from a confidence issue more than, you could figure it out. You could figure it out. But if you're not mentally in the right headspace to take it on, then yeah, of course you're going to kind of self-sabotage and, take those opportunities away from yourself. So walk me through, in terms of ideal client, obviously somebody who wants to grow is kind of what you've alluded to earlier, but, is there a particular industry? Is there a particular, what would you say is that kind of ideal client profile for you?
Yeah, professional services. So a lot of consultants, like you're selling your expertise to businesses, right? Accounting, technology, leadership development, fill in the blank. But yeah, someone who's looking to get bigger clients and close bigger deals. That's more like the solo consultant. More for midsize. For our larger clients, they have big clients and big deals, but they don't know how to create predictable growth. Like there's a couple leaders who built the relationships, they have the clients, but now as the team grows, they're like, what's our process? How do we engineer this? How do we create an engine around this? So, but yes, B2B service firms are my clients.
Okay. And so kind of back up a little bit and walk me through your journey to get to this point. Have you, always felt like this is your calling? Did you get here by way of, a million different roads and all that kind of thing? Talk me through that.
Yeah. God's plan was better than mine. I don't know how I got here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I took so many roads. So yeah, when I left, my whole corporate career was in sales. And I always joke that when I left corporate, I was trying to run as far away from sales as possible. And somehow I found myself back here. I enjoy it. I'm very fulfilled. I feel like I'm living in my dreams with my eyes wide open. But this was not my plan. When I left corporate, like the thing for me that drives me is people being fulfilled and transformed. Like human psychology, like I'm operating in my assignment in life. I'm clear on who I am in the world. Whatever expertise or impact I want to create, I'm creating it. Like I love supporting people with that. And I also, part of my story has been when it's kind of like, I shouldn't say this in case somebody's kids watch, but it's kind of like the kid who thinks Santa Claus is real. And then one day they're like, Santa Claus isn't real. What? Like your whole like psychology of life is disrupted. That's how I felt like there's so many like legendary figures in so many different industries that I hailed and respected. And as I got older and studied business, I realized that some of the most influential people in our society died broke. And like I have a thing about right and wrong, and that felt so wrong to me. What drives me is like, if you create impact, then your bank account and your contracts should match the impact you're creating. And if it's not, then you need somebody to support you. So randomly, that's how I got here.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful. The other thing I think is fascinating with you and your brand, and again, this is a little bit more on the personal side of things, but when people talk about corporate, I think they think I'm going to have to wear gray suits. I'm going to have to wear black. But you have a very creative, stylish, fashion forward. Like every time I see you, you're, dressed to the nines and making an impact with how you dress and how you carry yourself. What do you tell people too that feel like, if I go the corporate route, I'm going to have to button up and be, somebody that I'm not. And like, it's going to be so boring and gray and just ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a daily challenge, even for me. I think generationally, I'm a millennial. So I was brought up to assimilate. Like I was brought up like, here's how you fit in and wear the pantyhose. And like, I did not dress like this when I was in corporate America. I was very much so navy blues and like very, but yeah, for me, when I started my business, one of the things for me is like, I was no longer going to live in self-betrayal. And I realized from my corporate career and stuff that money did not equal fulfillment. And so I realized like, if I was going to feel like a success, then I would have to look in the mirror and realize that I was being my full self in the work that I did. So I honestly just did it because I'm like, I need to be who I am. And even if I make less money, at least I can look myself in the mirror and feel good about who I am.
Right.
And then I found out like actually personal branding and being yourself is actually one of the best business strategies. Like it's worked out. And I think it's a different time. Like it's such a different time. There are industries where maybe you need to be a little bit more conservative than others, but like you get to be who you are in the world. You can only be consistent at being yourself.
I love that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like consistency is what builds trust. And as experts, trust is everything. So be consistently you and let the chips fall where they may. For most of us, we probably only need 5 to 10 clients to be multimillionaires anyway. So you're not trying to convert everybody.
Right. Yeah. I love, what you said about in terms of generational, like our, millennial age group was told, if you assimilate, to your point, all of your chips will fall. Like you will get, the great job, you will get the promotion, you will get this. And then I think we've been kind of that turning point generation to realize like it's not guaranteed. Like there's going to be a recession, there's going to be a natural disaster, there's going to be something that completely throws us off. So why would you sit there and try to, play by the exact
Yeah.
rules that we've all been taught instead of, no, I think this is how I want to be. And I'm going to, to your point, let the right people find me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That
Very
feels
cool.
good. I love it. I can't speak for everyone, but I tried it the other way. And I knew that it never felt right. And so there's just something about being you that just like I feel like a success even if the contracts and money aren't there, because I just know like you can't pull my coattail because I am being myself in every room that I'm in. That feels like success to me.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the last thing I'll say in terms of the fashion style conversation, but I feel like too, we've all been in meetings before where we stuffed ourselves into the uncomfortable jacket or like put on the pantsuit that we're like, ugh, I don't want to be in this, but I think I have to be. And there is a physical response to walking in a outfit that you love and you feel powerful in and you stand out versus like, here I am just trying to like be, to your point, it feels like a self-betrayal, even though it's just a silly jacket or a dress or whatever.
Yeah. I've had people who ask, and I don't know, I might change my mind later, but I've had people like, does someone style you? And I'm like, no, like I like picking up these things, like, this is my random, I don't, when people compliment, I'm like, oh, you like it too? But I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if people like my big bird earrings or whatever, but I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a pair of like crazy ostrich, ones from a local maker, Fruity Palms. If you don't know her, you need to go follow her. But my brother called them my Lorax earrings, like the Lorax trees. And I was like,
know the Lorax.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, brother. Like typical brother to now make me think of that every time I try to wear those.
I need those as I write down Fruity Palm.
Everybody needs a brother that's going to just humble you a little bit.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah. All right. So your, community is vast. You've built, a wonderful, exciting business. Walk me through how you came to discover NAWBO, how that journey kind of came about too.
Yes. Okay. So how did I first discover? I did look into NAWBO when I first, I'm new to San Antonio. And when not new, 12 years ago.
Back then you were new. Yeah.
12 years ago, I was new to San Antonio and I did look into groups and I was trying to find a place that I felt like I could belong and be a part of. And so I had a few people who told me about it. And I'll be very candid. I'll be transparent because this does end well, but it was rocky. And I'll be transparent because there are some people who had conversations with me and be like, nah, this is what happened. So diversity and inclusion means a lot to me. It's always meant a lot to me. It's always been a part of the ethos of who I am. So when I am looking for groups to be a part of, I am looking for diversity and I'm looking to see myself represented. I want to know that I'm going to feel safe, right? Especially if I'm going to be a member. And I was considering it. And at the time that I was considering it, there was an event at a plantation and I was completely turned off. And it made me feel like, you know what? I don't know that the individuals who are part of this are aware. Either they're not aware, which is problematic for me, or they're aware and did it anyway, which is a problem for me.
Also, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then I was intentional about not joining. And then it kept coming back. Like I kept meeting people who were like, you should be a part of it. And I want to give credit. I'm going to call out. Hopefully she's okay with this. I'll never forget years ago, Bonita Owens came to my office and we were talking and she brought it up and I was like, yeah, no, they hadn't been at a plantation. I'm good. Like, not doing it. And she was like, you know, I think you should give them another chance. Like, I think you should take another look. Like, I'm involved. I know these individuals, and I really don't think that's a reflection, right, of the ethos of these individuals. And I was like, okay. So she kind of, she was someone who I had a really blunt conversation with, and she challenged me on it. And I was like, okay, I'll consider. And then, is it 2 years ago now? I think I have my award. Is it here?
You're like, coincidentally, let me
well, now that we talk about it. So 2 years ago, 2023, I was so honored you all recognized me as Women Business Owner of the Year in San Antonio. And that experience was stellar. I mean, everything from those who do not know, I mean, and I'm probably missing things, but there was like a mixer and then we had video interviews, almost like this documentary style.
It is robust. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We had these interviews and this gala, which my whole family came to. We had like this whole table and this whole gala experience. And I had different interactions from local members and they felt warm, right? And they did not feel like my bias for how I thought they would show up, you know, because I'm like, this is the group that hadn't been in a plantation, right? Like in my mind. And so that really warmed me up, but I still wasn't ready. I still wasn't ready. A couple people talked to me about it, but I'll say the final thing for me was my daughter started 4th grade in school. We used to homeschool her and she went to public school. And I was like, I really need local relationships with other women who understand my journey as a business. And I'm like, I need to get involved. And so I was like, where am I going to go to get involved? And I was like, you know what, NAWBO, like I know people like syrupy sweet situations where there's no conflict. I'm the type of girl where I almost value conflict sometimes because I value something more when there can be conflict and there's intention and effort to find agreement. And that makes me feel safe. And I was like, you know what I appreciated is I was able to have some constructive conversations and it always felt productive and heard. And so that really gave me respect. And so I just joined a couple months ago. And honestly, I'm so glad I did. I've probably like gone to everything, like just yesterday I was literally in tears. Yesterday there was a high school mentoring program conference. And I had a table of these 6 high school girls who were so brilliant. And I was so inspired. Like my cup was so filled from them. I did a dinner. I joined Million Up and we had like this 6-hour dinner, this fine dining experience. Like there's so many interactions where I went to Austin last week or whatever week for Advocacy Day a week or 2 ago. And there's nothing like having women in my backyard who relate to my experience as an entrepreneur from different areas. There's so much programming.
It's a lot.
But like you get to pick and choose what you go to. But if you want to be involved and if you want proximity, there's so many things to choose from. So I probably gave the longest answer to your question, but I want to be really transparent because like I really value the women that I've interacted with and not because it's always been perfect, but because it's been real and authentic. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I so appreciate you sharing the true story and the true journey because I think, you know, the saying goes with like relationships. If there's no conflict, it means somebody's being a doormat or somebody's, you know, not speaking up. The same thing I think applies with organizations. If there's no challenge, there's no issues, it means people are afraid to speak up. And so the fact that, you know, you were willing to speak up, first of all, and then second of all, that our membership was willing to hear that, receive that, you know, understand where you were coming from. And Bonita is a beautiful example of being willing to, speak to, folks in the community who may be hesitant, and that's valid. That experience is 100% understandable. So I love that you have, joined and gotten so involved so quickly. And our high school mentorship, as you mentioned, that program is one of the most special things about NAWBO. I think that it's not just what can you give me, what can you give me, but also, okay, here's this initiative where I feel like I can give back a little bit and lift up that generation coming behind me. So, what would you say to somebody? We're actually, coincidentally enough, we're in our membership drive right now. What would you say to somebody who's maybe looking at that? I think it's a $75 discount, and thinking, oh gosh, maybe now's the time, but we've got this looming deadline of the end of October. What would you say to somebody who's maybe considering joining and has kind of some of the same, thoughts and processes as you?
Yeah, I say get involved. Like, yeah, don't hesitate, jump in. We are like one of the largest chapters, right? In the country. There's so many women, so many different diverse businesses. I learned from everyone that I encounter. Everyone truly is warm. San Antonio is one of the friendliest places ever. Like everyone's warm. I learn a lot. You talk about networking, relationship capital, just the relationships, the connections is amazing. And then also to your point, I think part of the call of leaders is giving back, right? The food bank, my 8-year-old and I did the food bank, like
Yay,
months
I
ago
love
when
that.
we did that, which was like, so giving back to your local community with
Mhm.
others is amazing. And I've already had two, I don't know if I can say their names yet, but
Mhm.
one of my close friends has already joined.
Awesome.
Another one has joined Million Up. So I've part of the membership drive. I've already referred two women to join.
Amazing.
And so
Yeah.
like, and these are like two people I'm really close with. I'm like, you need to be involved. Like you need to be
Mm.
a part of this. And also like, I think that if someone has concerns about representation, which was mine, like, part of it is being the change you want to see. Right. And
Mm.
so
Mhm.
I appreciate like Bonita for doing that. And then also I was referred, I want to also, Nisi Bennett, I want to give
Mhm.
credit, is who
Mhm.
referred me for Women Business Owner of the Year Award, who was another person who advocated for me to get involved. Um,
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
think being the change that you need to see, but I think we're lying to ourselves as business owners if
Mm.
we think that we're going to thrive in isolation.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you need to be a part of something, and I think this is one of the best things to be a part of.
And I also want to, call out too, I so appreciated you coming to Advocacy Day, because going to Austin and learning more about how NAWBO is bringing important issues from a bipartisan standpoint. So it is, I think, one of those things everybody talks about wanting more of, where both sides of the aisle come and work together. But then in practice, it is a very challenging thing to do. It is very hard. There's a lot of strong opinions on either side. And so the fact that we had a good group of San Antonio members go to Austin, learn more about what NAWBO is actually advocating for, and being a part of those conversations, I think, is when you really see kind of that magic of NAWBO coming to life.
100%. That was another, I mean, the food bank, the high school mentoring were inspiring, but also, yes, Advocacy Day lit something within me. I already have met with two of like the people that I met in Austin, like Economic Development Center.
Mhm.
One advocating for shared, um, shared desires, right,
Hmm.
as an organization. But also just more so realizing, like, I'm a person where impact really matters. Like, just
Yeah.
also really seeing the domino effect of how, as business owners, we are a part of the fabric of the communities and cities that we touch, and how can we be more intentional about
Mhm.
that impact and how we show up. So that
Mhm.
I'm glad that NAWBO already has been doing that work for some time, and that there's education on the trip to Austin. So I was educated and I learned a lot, which helped
Mhm.
me realize I have a greater responsibility here.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because the sad truth is that if you're not there speaking up and saying, your perspective and your truth, then the squeaky, wheel is gonna get the attention. It's going to
Yes.
be whoever takes the time to actually say, "No, this is what we need. This is what we're speaking up for." Um, So if people are curious to learn more about you, how can they find you on the internet? Where should they go to learn more?
Love it. Yeah, I would love if you connect with me on LinkedIn, Liz J. Simpson. You can look me up. I would love for you to message me. Let me know that you came through this channel. And if you're watching and you're not a member, what I hope that you take away is that you need to be a part of this organization, whether you're a woman business owner who's looking for something to be a part of, I think you need to join. Or if you're an ally and you're looking at how you can support and partner with us and the nonprofit, then I hope that you take that action as well.
Amazing. If you are watching and you are curious to come to any of our upcoming events, there's a QR code up above for you to scan. And then if you are listening to our podcast, we'll put that information in the show notes. So thank you, Liz, so much for joining us. I really appreciate this conversation. We could probably go on for another hour, but we got things to do. We got deals to close. All right. So
thank you.
have a
I
wonderful rest of
appreciate
the day.
you.